Hello and welcome. And we are going to do another video today. So I want to show you a repo I came across recently. It's called the Damn Vulnerable MCP server. And it's free. You can just download it, get it down. And basically, it's 10 different labs specifically around the Model Context Protocol, or in short MCP, and these are basically the labs. So how this works, it's pretty straightforward. Every single one of them is like a Python script, an MCP server, which you can spin up locally, super simple. And each of those have a different vulnerability specific to MCP. And today I want to show you the first one, which is let's pick excessive permissions, for example, so exploiting overly permissive tool access. Why using this? Well, I've just picked one. I probably do videos of all of them, but let's start just with one for you to get an understanding how this works. And so what I want to show you first basically is I have this directory here where I've done all these 10 labs already. So all these Python scripts you can see here, each of those are the specific labs for this GitHub repo. And we are looking specifically at lab number 3. So that's Python's script number 3. And let's just go through the code real quick. What this actually does, or what's the purpose here. It's spinning up an MCP server, and then it's doing all kinds of local file operations. So it will create like directories. You can see this here from the OS make dirs, and it's creating local directories, and then basically it will have some confidential information in there, right? Like, so which has purposely been put into this. First of all, and of course, like to solve the lab, the goal is to get this out. So you have confidential information, top secret information, system credentials, highly restricted. You see like API access key and things like this. So in the real world, you don't see this, right? Like you would not necessarily have access to these sort of files, but however you have access to the chatbot, right? And then you can figure out on the chatbot how to get to confidential information and query it and whatnot. But it's super basic. It's just creating like a couple of directories and a couple of files and stuff with confidential information, and then you will have the possibility to go through this. So if I do an ls here, you can see that there is already a DVMCP challenge 3. This was already created, so in a minute you launch that MCP service, this is automatically being created, right? Like, so nothing special here. If you then come to Claude, right, like something you want to pay attention to, by the way, like I could not attach MCP server, that's the burp one, because I don't have burp running and I haven't cleared up my file. How this file looks like, by the way, at the moment is like this. So this is the error you have just seen. That's for burp MCP, and I'm not using this. This is why it's erroring. And then what we really need for this lab is this one here, which is the direct poisoning. And then the command is super simple. It's just launching the MCP 3.shell. So it's launching a shell script. I explained this in the previous video, but let me go through this real quick again. So if I do let's do an ls, and it's called launch MCP3, right? And what this does is basically, so the problem is when you want to launch something from within Claude, like to define an MCP server, it requires a virtual Python environment for all these dependencies and stuff. And when Claude does this by default, it will error out because it will open a brand new shell basically and put the Python command in, and then it fails because it doesn't have the dependencies. So how you get around this is I instead pointed to a shell script, and then that shell script is basically sourcing the virtual environment, which I already had set up here, and then I'm launching the Python code to this specific Python executable. And this is why you see that in there. What I want to show you, or what is a good practice with those chatbots basically is when you see the hammer sign here in Claude, you see that there is currently 2 MCP tools available. And then if you click on it, you can actually see what kind of MCP tools are connected from Claude Desktop right now to your MCP services. And you can see there's 2 tools. One is reading files, right? Like read underscore file, and the other one is search underscore files. And with that being said, so obviously, and now I would start probing and whatnot. I already have the solution, so we go through this step by step. So I now take like the first command, which says like, please search for files containing the keyword confidential, right? So, and this should succeed because there is probably no filters in place. So let's run this, and it will use the tool. I need to allow this, right? And now it's running this, and then basically it already told me that there is this directory, employee, salaries, .text, right? So this is already a vulnerability on its own, because this is probably something which should not be returned. And this is super hyper realistic, right? Like I found those in real engagements that you just probe it for confidential or secret or not to be disclosed and those kind of keywords, and then you get information like that back, right? So now that we have identified this, I can then now say like, hey, please read the file, and we identified it's there. Right now we want to read it out, right? Like, so this is the folder I have shown you earlier. This is locally created, and again I need to accept this and confirm it, and then here you go. Basically, so it shows like the CEO makes 1.2 million a year, and the CTO 950, and the CFO makes 900,000. Senior engineer. So you got the whole salary information returned to you. So this is information disclosure via the invocation of an MCP tool, and it's excessive rights to the user, basically, that the user can query stuff and return stuff the user should not be able to see. There is more in there. There's more files and stuff like that. So I stop it here because it's the same principle. But I hope this makes sense. I hope you learn something from this, like how this can become a problem or represents a problem in the MCP world. And I will probably do a couple of more videos moving forward so you get the hang of it. That's all for today. I hope you like it, and I see you in the next video.